I had heard about this guy a long time ago, and it just kind of came back with one of the comments when someone sparked it back up in me again. But take a look at this amazing, immaculate architecture. Look at this. What is this from? The 1400s, I-400s, I-500s, who knows, maybe some ancient time? Nope. It's actually from the mid-1800s, where a guy named Patrick Keely, an Irish architect, came to America by storm and drafted out, architected, and just created plans, he must have, for 700 ecclesiastical churches throughout America. This guy has to his credit list, including that one, which on the outside looks like this. And none of the drawings have really survived. None of his sketches have survived. Someone claims to have seen them once and said they were really cool. But either way, shut your mouth. Don't look any further. It was Patrick Keely. He did this. He is the architect master. Wonder why you've never heard of him? Because it's so absolutely ridiculous that how could anyone even real history in the fabricators don't even seem to believe it, because they don't even push it. You'd think this guy would have the prowess of a Leonardo da Vinci, the power of a Raphael, a Dali, a Van Gogh. He would be known more than Michelangelo for creating that many buildings, because Michelangelo created like one on the top, and he didn't even design the architecture. This guy designed the architecture, probably the artwork within it, the sculptures, the statues. He did it all in his short lifetime after he was just immigrated to America. A record of his life and work is a very small book. I'll try to include the link below. But it's a very small book with a lot of hyperbole and things that don't really make too much sense. And the more you read in it, it's so vague. It's so easily faked. It's ridiculous. And look at what they credit him to. Take a look. Some of these, I guarantee, are in your towns out there. I know some are in mine, in Boston. But this is a massive list. And each one of these is like, this isn't like the guy from the Brady Bunch movie who's like everything he designs is the same. These are all amazingly different, all spanning the influences from almost Gothic to just every other one, classical, neoclassical, Roman, Tartarian, everything. This guy spans it all. Look, 700 ecclesiastical structures to his credit. Wow, what a hero. Who's this guy? Anyone out there ever heard of him? Anyone out there ever seen of him? Anyone out there ever seen an article or a documentary on him? No one's ever done anything, a statue. I can't even believe that this is actually a story, a part of our supposed history. Like, how many people have actually fallen for this? And is there anyone out there who's like an absolute diehard Patrick Keely fan with like pictures of all his churches, and it's just an architectural like inspiration to some people? Look at that. Every one of these is totally amazingly different. And how could these be done without plans, is what I'm saying. It is a really big part of this that seems to be forgotten from the history. They say, oh, the plans were, somewhere and they got lost. It's like, okay. But even to draw up all these plans, 700 in a lifetime, he'd have to do nothing else, absolutely nothing else. He'd never be able to visit them. He'd never be able to really do anything. And the plans that they show, any of the plans are drawings that have survived, which are pretty much just drawings. There's a big difference between drawings and plans. But all of them are just drawings. No measurements. The proportions could be anything. No exact amount of bricks per section. No angles of the archways. No anything planned out. So pretty much the masters of these cathedrals would have to be the builders, because if they were just going by a drawing and building a building, that's better than anyone's ever done. They deserve all the credit. Maybe that's why, although they're all unknown too. So it doesn't make any sense. The architect. Yeah. These things would be absolute treasures. Each one of them would probably be kept somewhere in the church if the plans were actually there. Because why wouldn't the churches want them? Out of 700, none of them wanted to save the plans or the original architectural artwork. Like, and if he was just drawing things like this, that's a long way away from building them. And if you could make people believe this back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and without question, then wow, that's even worse off than we are now, and with our misinformation everywhere, and how how far off did they get? How you could reset. It sounds like that would be a people that you could reset once, and then the next generation would have no recollection of anything. Everything would be new, and they would believe that 700 churches across America were created by one architect, and that takes a lot to believe that. It's kind of like looking at some of those old structures and World's Fairs and thinking that they're just tiny plaster that could be blown away in the wind at any second. But I tend to believe, look at this. From that drawing, is anyone able to build anything? You'd never know how high anything was, the proportions of anything, what the materials are, any of this. Nobody, no construction manager could take these drawings and consider them to be plans that would be built big enough to make something. This looks like someone went to a bunch of churches and maybe drew what the architecture was that had already been created in a time that was going to be totally forgotten and lost and hidden and kept secret from all future generations. Imagine knowing that someone's going to give you the credit for all these things. That would be like me going into the Museum of Fine Arts and drawing pencil sketches or charcoal sketches of some of the most amazing drawings there, all the while knowing that in the future people were going to think that I was the one who did it, even though I wasn't. Sounds like the things that the Freemasons do when they try to claim certain things were built or done or accomplished by people within that group. And you come to find out, if you look a little deeper, that it usually isn't the case. There's a lot of different mysteries behind the ages of these. Like, look at that. How old is that? How deep does it go? How would he have even built anything deeper? How would he have carved out the basements? Where are the plans for those? Where are the plans for every part of this? This is not stuff that can be sent to a couple people to have them build and have a bunch going at the same time. It's just absolutely preposterous. And you'd need to have artists building all the sculptures. You'd have to have theologians going around making sure the stained glass and everything was appropriate for the symbolism of the church. You'd have to make sure everything was just ready, and the metallurgists were ready to put the crosses on all of the different parts. You'd have to 700 in a span of like 50 years max. How is it possible? Everyone a totally different style, medieval, totally different things that if they were in Europe or any other part of the world, the actual date would be a little bit closer, or they would at least have the courtesy to not say that they were all built by one person. And it's, again, maybe, I don't know, they don't even use the contest lie and baloney with these ones. They don't even bother. People got lazy at one point, and why would you even put in too much effort when no one really is going to kick up fuss until, what, 150 years later, when we're all starting to notice? Pretty nuts. Look at that thing. That is a machine. That is a structure with power, with purpose. Look at those ceilings. Boom. Same as like the Parthenon, same as ancient Rome, supposedly. Same as all of those churches. St. Ignatius Loyola's church, which is like is about 500 years old, like they say. But nope, same architecture around here, done by an Irishman. Irish architect, immigrant in the mid-1850s. Nothing to see here. His dad was an architect. That explains it. That one on the left, maybe I could see him doing. That's about it. But I have a feeling there was something on top of that, like this, and that makes me think again that he couldn't have done it. So I would put this all towards an ancient and distant civilization that's been wiped out. Were they Tartarians? Were they Moorish? Were they everyone combined? Was this all just a giant melting pot, everyone getting together peacefully, beautifully, harmoniously, bells ringing, sound waves, all kinds of different things, tapping into the ether, everyone on the same energetic frequency, everyone getting it, everyone just existing and being free to do whatever they wish. Beautiful Renaissance-like activity every day whenever these were in their prime. Who knows? But I hope we figure it out. I must sound like a broken record, but I'm absolutely nauseated by the amount of lies out there nowadays. It is absolutely sick in the way that it's just tearing people apart inside when for no need, and whether they realize it or not, all of these things, just believing in lies, I really am convinced is like a cancer. Whether you don't know it or not, when you put your faith in something that you wholeheartedly believe and it's wrong, I think it's just very unhealthy. I think it's a mentally unhealthy thing, and just spiritually as well. It's better to not know and know that you don't know. The great Bill and Ted once said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing." And we have to start there. Or maybe we do know it all, inherently inside us somewhere. We've just forgotten. Well, it's time for our collective memory to fire back up again, so we can get right back on track. Bless you all.